Hello everyone, this is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cruel and Beautiful, Rabbit Hole, and King Dio. The current state of Platinum Games. I've talked a lot about these chuckle fucks in the past couple of years, in several videos over the past couple of years. I talked extensively about how I didn't like the Wonderful 101 Kickstarter. I've talked about their lack of video game releases, their lack of Switch support, their inability to even put out updates to their games on Switch that were promised via the Kickstarter stretch goals. There have been a lot of problems with Platinum Games over the years, but I'm seeing now, as of right now, I think we're at the point where everyone has had enough of their bullshit. Or more people have, I think more adequately put, people are not tuning in to their nonsense anymore. Because a couple of days ago, I tuned into a live stream Platinum Games was hosting regarding showing off some of their self-published titles. They were showing off some of the Wonderful 101 DLC, some of the Wonderful 101 DLC for Switch that I don't think anyone asked for or anybody cares about. Vorkin mode. They were showing that off extensively, and they showed off some mobile games. Did not show off Project GG. Did not show off anything interesting, and their view counts reflected that. They were getting maybe 183 viewers that video. It was absurd. I couldn't believe it. If I hadn't been notified via 4chan that they were streaming, showing off stuff, I would have no idea what happened. It was happening, and it seemed nobody else did either, because I was bringing this up on 4chan after this, bringing this up to people I knew, bringing it up to people on stream chats, and people were just like, when did this happen? When did this stream happen? That's how far Platinum has fallen, right? There used to be a time where everyone was talking about Platinum as being the go-to action game developer. Oh man, I can't wait till Platinum works on Star Fox. I can't wait until they work on Metroid, or I can't wait until they make a new original IP for Nintendo consoles. I can't wait till Nintendo acquires them. People 10 years ago, Platinum Games was the absolute shit. People were hyped for Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. People were hyped for Bayonetta 2, for the Wonderful 101, for Star Fox Zero. Platinum Games used to deliver some of the best action games on the market, but these days, what have they produced? The last relevant game they produced was, of all things, Nier Automata, a game that I have addressed as being a fluke, a game that's only relevant because of how desperate PlayStation owners were to have an exclusive title on their platform. Nier Automata was never any good, and after that they produced Astral Chain, which also did well, but they had to sell the IP to Nintendo, so now they don't even have that. What have they produced in the past couple of years? Nothing. They have no projects on the horizon. We've seen nothing from Bayonetta 3. It seems to be vaporware. We've seen nothing from Project GG. We've seen nothing. We've had no major Platinum announcements. Oh wait, no, we saw Babylon's Fall. Yeah, I think that was the moment that the general gaming public lost faith in Platinum, was when they showed up Babylon's Fall and it looked like shit. Platinum Games is now a complete shell of its former self, and I want to take a moment to talk about why, because I think I'm the only one really talking about this at length. People have noticed that they're not producing anything good at the moment, but I think most don't understand why this has happened. What exactly did Platinum do to lose so much talent, so much a high quality, to stop producing so many high quality games so quickly? Platinum, in their arrogance, thought it would be better for them as a company to not allow themselves to be acquired by Nintendo, and thought that they could be successful producing games for every single platform. So what we're seeing is Platinum taking Chinese money from Tencent to produce mobile games that they hope will be profitable enough to help to sustain them and help them continue producing high quality titles for all platforms. By all platforms, I mean Xbox, PlayStation, PC. Because you just know, you know they're not going to produce games on Switch. If they had the option to, they wouldn't bother with Nintendo consoles because they think they're too good for that. Oh yeah. Yeah, you're okay. It's fine to complain about games Nintendo games getting ported. It's not okay to complain about games getting ported, Nintendo games getting ported to other consoles, but when it's time to, it's okay for games to not come out on Nintendo consoles, but don't you dare suggest that like Nintendo games shouldn't be like available everywhere, because that's just sacrilegious to these people. It's unbelievable. Basically, what Platinum Games tried to do, what Platinum Games did, is that they formed a very solid partnership with Nintendo, put out a handful of really good, well-received games. Wonderful 101, Bayonetta 2, Star Fox Zero, and immediately spat in their face. Like, immediately just told Nintendo to fuck off. We're only going to produce what we want. We're only going to produce self-published games. We're going to do this and that. We don't need you. And as a result of that, without a stable publisher supporting them, and in fact, with the way they treat like their publishers in general, they've reached the point where they've alienated basically every single publisher in the industry. Like Square Enix doesn't want to work with them again. Activision not working with them again. I'm sure Nintendo would be willing to work with them again. They've been giving them a lot of leeway. Microsoft, I'm sure, isn't going to be working with them again. Like, traditionally, the thought among fans was that like it was Microsoft that was to blame. It was Activision. It was all these other companies that they were involved with. But now that we know enough about their work culture, their output, their general development cycle, and I think above all else, taking Chinese money and just phoning it in for a large amount of their projects, like we're at the point now where it feels like nobody has any faith in this company anymore. Like, it feels like Astral Chain was sort of like the end of an era, right? Like the last somewhat reasonably well put together game they put out. Like, even that game wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. A major step down from the Wonderful 101, but like they could have been great. Like, I think that's the most obnoxious thing about this at the moment is Platinum Games had an opportunity to become one of the best action game developers of all time if they had just allowed themselves to be acquired by Nintendo like they should have, like a decade ago, and allowed themselves to work on like, you know, all these great Nintendo action IPs, like really put their effort into making a good Star Fox game, really putting effort into like, you know, doing new and interesting things with old Nintendo IPs, like really putting all their effort into making new games for Nintendo consoles. Like, they would be in a much better position financially, like a lot like Monolith Soft, right? Like Monolith Soft, you know, I don't care for Monolith Soft. I've never loved them as a developer. I don't think Xenoblade is that great. Monolith Soft did the exact opposite, right? Monolith Soft like embraced Nintendo support. They embraced the Nintendo brand. They embraced Nintendo consoles, and as a result of that, they put out nothing but like well-received hits among their audience for the past decade. Like they're in the opposite position Platinum is in right now. Platinum right now is sort of in the position that Level 5 was. I would say like around the time they made Fantasy Life 2 mobile exclusive, right? They're shafting their Nintendo fans in favor of like chasing after the mobile market that doesn't care about them at all. And when you do that, you lose a lot of you lose a lot of your integrity, you lose a lot of your customer support, you lose a lot of faith that like hardcore fans have in you. Because when you develop mobile games, it means that you don't have faith in your product to sell. It means you don't have faith in like your talent as a game developer. It means you only care about the money, and as a result of that, like it's just, why would I take anything you produce seriously after this? I think they vastly underestimate like just how disastrous this Tencent deal is going to do for them. I think like nobody's going to buy their games on mobile. Nobody cares about them. Nobody's going to support them. Nobody's even really talking about them. I think. Like I was a big fan of Platinum Games 10 years ago, but now I couldn't give this. Now I don't give any amount of thought to them, like unless it's the bitch about like things they've been doing or saying on Twitter. Like I think it's ridiculous how far they've fallen in such a short amount of time. And some people online are talking about this. I've been seeing more and more people bring this up in message boards and stuff like that. Like a lot of people, I think, were talking about how No More Heroes 3 was better than most of the things Platinum has produced lately. And I agree. I absolutely agree. Like Suda51, you know, despite being from a much smaller developer, I think, much less a pedigree of talent, I would say. He is actually doing a lot better because he's making the games he wants to make. He never really alienated his vision, really. He never let himself get to that point where he was like irredeemable in the eyes of his fans, right? He never like really lost sight of like what was really important when it came to game design and philosophy and stuff like that. There were barriers that were there, but he wasn't actively pushing them along. Like he wasn't actively rejecting Nintendo. He wasn't actively like making these bad creative decisions. Like if anything, like all the problems Suda's had, like if you're aware of like what happened like after No More Heroes at all, was entirely due to like just the situation that modern game developers have to go through, like with the publishing system and just like how no one wants to produce Nintendo games and just like that anti-fun mindset, like having to mainstream make everything like mainstream and stuff like that, to casualize everything. Like that's the problem Suda had. Platinum, they didn't deal with it as well. Like I don't think they're ever going to produce anything like No More Heroes 3. I think Kamiya is done. I don't think he's going to produce anything ever again. I think Project GG is going to have a whole lot of problems, assuming it even comes out. My assumption is that it's going to be vaporware. Honestly, like I don't expect Bayonetta 3 is going to do well at all. Project GG is probably never going to come out. They're never going to produce anything ever again, and they're going to go the same route as Level 5 or Treasure, where they just kind of fall out of the limelight. They've lost their credibilities, and it's kind of a shame. It didn't need to be this way. They could have been the new Rareware. They could have been like the best Nintendo subsidiary ever if they had just kept their talent, stuck to what they were good at, and really just embraced the Nintendo brand. But no, they just had to fuck us over because they're just that short-sighted and just that stupid.